Hi all, Kerminater here. I'll be your host for this week's releases as 7 get dragged off. So first game this week is The Exorcist Legion, the first of a multi-chapter horror experience where you learn demonic exorcism and uncover your darkest, most hidden fears. This is available on the Vive and the Rift with a 20% discount at the minute, making it at bargain price.
Homicide, come in, this is dispatch. I need anyone from Homicide. Come on, pick up the radio. Jesus. Hey, there's a call for you guys down at Church of St. Vincent de Paul. This is a weird one.
I'm sorry to impose, but would you hear my confession? May I ask you a question? Why does your God swim in such filth? You have nightmares, don't you, Detective?
Next up, Monster of the Deep on the PSVR. This is a fishing game set within the world of Final Fantasy. Some of the best graphics I've seen on the PSVR. You unlock other game modes as you play through, hours of entertainment, especially if you're a Final Fantasy fan.
Peggy 12.
You're welcome to join me. Hey, you got a bite. Don't let up. All right. Oh, yeah. Look at the size of that thing.
Almost there. Keep going. For the players.
Right, so that's it over there. Let's pop over and we'll see who Eden is actually greeting.
I'd like to introduce you. This is Christian from Blue Entropy Studios.
Hello, everyone.
He's the developer of Reaching for Petals, which has recently come out with the VR updates, as well as several other games.
Yep. We specialize in doing like escape room games with puzzles and stuff. There's also some little arcadey games. We have Room Scale Coaster, and then recently, as he mentioned, Reaching for Petals VR, which is more of a story-driven adventure game.
So, Reaching for Petals, I've heard it described more as, say, an experience rather than a game.
Yeah.
But are there many game elements to it?
There are a few puzzles. They're very limited. They're not hard to figure out. It's more like just like an interaction element. Like, for example, like the first thing that you come across is there's you're by a cliff and there's a river and there's a huge gap right there, and you can push over a log and that log tips over and you can walk across it. And then later down the line, you use that knowledge that you gain from pushing that log, that you can push logs, and you use like a little teeter-totter thing to climb up to a higher ledge. So that's generally the extent of the puzzles and stuff. And then the other gameplay elements is there's some like story decision making, but it's mostly just an experience, like a walking simulator, but for VR. Like hiking, it's pretty peaceful.
Okay. So is there anything else you could tell us about the game in general?
It's a very, what's the word for it? Meta game. It's, it starts off very, ambiguous, not very direct, and very poetic. But as you learn more about your past and the reason for your adventure, it slowly starts to make more sense. And it's one of those games where, like, a second playthrough, you'll understand more than the first playthrough. And generally, the story is about love and loss. So, yeah.
Okay, so love and loss. And about how long would you say it is?
I mean, if you could probably rush through it in about an hour and 20 minutes. But most people would take nearly 2 hours to go through it.
Okay, so it's
especially in VR.
Yeah.
You know, VR is more to look at and stuff. You know.
Yeah, I mean, what would you say the difference is? Because I know it's non-VR and VR. What do you say the benefits are of playing it in VR?
Oh, in VR, you get to really appreciate the scale and beauty of everything. I'm okay. I did not plan to release the game for VR when we first started this, right? But when first time I added the bit of code just to look at the game through the headset, I was just like, okay, we've got to do this because it was breathtaking. Like just the first few seconds of looking up at the trees and just feeling like just the forest. It was like, I mean, I do a lot of camping in real life myself and hiking and stuff, and I just like that feeling. I was like right there alone, and you know the story. I just felt like it'd be perfect for VR.
Oh, that's great. It is always good to have games with non-VR games with VR option as well.
Yes,
it's a nice little extra. Was it quite difficult to implement the extra?
Honestly, yeah, it was one of the more difficult VR things that my team's actually worked on. And in fact, there's actually we've pushed a few updates so far, and because there's a few issues right at the start that we missed, especially for the Oculus users. And we've mostly ironed out everything except one tiny issue. Anti-aliasing isn't perfect right now, so grass might be a little bit grainy, but we're working on having an update hopefully out by the end of this week that should fix all that and add some graphic options for higher end users with beefy PCs and stuff.
It's good. Options always good. I did see you had pushed a couple of updates recently, so it's good to know that more are coming as well. So, as well as updates for the current game, Reaching Petals, is there any hints of what you're working on next?
Yes, it's still in a concept phase, but we're starting to work on not necessarily an escape the room game, but more of a psychological thriller. And essentially, you're trapped in this room with miscellaneous things to do, and a narrator and like a loudspeaker is telling you what to do. And it starts off as seemingly random and strange activities, but they slowly seem to have a reason behind them, and slowly the reasoning and the morality of them become worse. So you feel like you're a bad person for doing these things, and then you're also given the option to rebel, and then you got to really question what's the right option. And it's almost sort of like, if I had to describe the idea of what it is, it's like if you take Saw and combine it with Portal 1.
Okay.
And you're escaping the facility. So yeah. That's what I would consider it. I'll have more details of that probably in the next month or two.
I'll look forward to that. That does sound like it's going to be interesting.
Yep.
Well, I hope when you do get ready to release that, or when you've got a bit more information, you'll come talk to us about it again.
Oh yeah, certainly.
Well, I suppose we'll leave it at that for now.
Right, thanks for that, Eden. Nice interview. And finally, Game of the Week. Alchemist Defender on the Rift and Vive. This is a tower defense game where you can actually go down and face your enemies face to face. Visually impressive game. At this price, it is not a bank breaker, so highly recommend that you go and get it. It's made your Game of the Week.
Blinded by the search for the magnum opus, you have unlocked the gates to new realities. Now you must stand your ground and dominate those who resist.
If you like what we do, don't forget to sub to us on YouTube, tweet us on Twitter, Itch us on Twitch, and F us on Facebook. Now let's jump back over and we'll say goodbye to our guest. Thank you, bye-bye.
Game of the week sounds really interesting. Can't wait to play it. Then,
All right. We're going to be giving away 3 copies of Reaching for Petals VR Edition to the users. And all the users, if you own the VR edition, you will also receive a free copy of the non-VR version. So if you don't feel like playing VR, you can play it on the monitor just as well. And also, you know what? We'll also give out 3 copies of one of our recent escape games, the Cabin VR Escape the Room.
oh, that's brilliant. That's a double giveaway then. Thank you for that. It's very generous of you.
Just hope our viewers can enjoy them.
I'm sure they will. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I hope that we continue to see more from you in the future and that you come back with your new game. We'll talk to you about then.
All right, certainly. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thanks then. Bye, everyone.
See ya.